After the last entry to our gaming news series was released at the end of last month, I joked with my gaming writer Nathan that half of this series is pretty much just breaking down a number of complex lawsuits within the video game industry, and I suppose this month will be no exception. As you might have guessed, this was mainly referring to Activision Blizzard, which has spent since the second half of this year getting sued for its toxic work culture and hostile attitudes toward women. Early this month, it was announced that the company had decided to increase the minimum wage of its contract workers and to also provide pay during holiday breaks. And just when we thought the company might have been turning a new leaf, they just couldn't help themselves. To give some context, back when the whole extensive sexual harassment controversy came to light, Blizzard CEO J. Allen Brack resigned from his position, after which it was decided that the role should be split between two people to cooperate as co-heads. This dual position was then given to Mike Ibarra and Jennifer O'Neill, technically making her the first female head of the company. This was until her resignation only this month, due to being quote, tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against, and when she was only in the position for 3 short months. You have to wonder whether the company was trying to complete a make female CEO resign any percent speed run. However, if you thought things ended there, then you certainly don't know Blizzard management, as she would go on to say that she had been sexually harassed at the company earlier in her career, and not only that, but she was even paid less than Mike Ibarra, the guy who literally started in the same position on the same fucking day. The company would put forward an equal pay offer after she resigned, a proposal which she declined. We now come to Bobby Kotick, who you might remember as the guy who pocketed a $155 million bonus to reward himself for laying off 150 staff members. Viewers also might remember Fran Townsend, the upper management something or other, who became famous for sending an internal letter to all employees, calling the lawsuit meritless and irresponsible, while praising the company as a whole. As it turns out, that very letter, which garnered such an unbelievable amount of subsequent backlash, wasn't even written by Fran, but by Bobby fucking Kotick himself. Mr. Kotick at the time even came out against the letter, describing it as tone deaf, forcing Mrs. Townsend to apologize. To reiterate, facing a media shitstorm for the company's toxic attitudes towards women, the natural instinct of the CEO was to draft some 12 IQ letter for its employees, make his female colleague take credit, before eventually condemning her for his own stupid fucking writing. To make the case against Mr. Kotick even more damning, it was also brought to light that when a former co-head of a studio was about to be fired, 2 whole years after a claim was made for sexual harassment, Bobby personally stepped in and stopped the employee from being fired. We could probably spend an entire hour breaking down similar cases, because just in the last 5 months, the company's HR department has received more than 500 complaints from current and former employees alleging harassment, sexual assault, pay disparities, and other issues. As you might imagine, a metric shit ton of people within the company want Bobby Kotick to leave, including 1,900 of its 10,000 employees, who have signed a petition demanding his removal. The heads of PlayStation and Xbox have also expressed serious concern with the company and have stated that they'd consider re-evaluating their relationship with Activision Blizzard as a whole. As much as this sounds like a weak-handed approach, in corporate speak this is about as serious as it gets, as potentially losing 2 of its biggest console partners will do a whole lot more to force shareholders to kick him out than a few hundred pesky allegations of sexual misconduct. Bobby Kotick finally stated that he would consider leaving Activision Blizzard if he wasn't able to fix the culture of the company in a timely manner. When considering that 4 years ago, Fortune magazine called Mr. Kotick the longest serving head of any publicly traded tech company, it seems as if he's had plenty of time to fix the current company culture, which was only able to thrive under his watch. Speaking of Activision Blizzard, this month saw the release of its flagship cash cow yearly installment of Call of Duty, with COD Vanguard going live on the 5th of November. The return to its World War II roots didn't appear to have won over many of its fans, however, as the game is currently sitting at a 73 critic score on Metacritic and a user score of 4 out of 10. Typically, the company is quick to announce its impressive first weekend sales. However, as no such data has been announced, it's likely safe to assume its lack of the words Black Ops or Modern Warfare in the title really hurt its sales figures. Twitch viewership numbers were also less than expected, being beaten out by the likes of Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, and Apex Legends, also known as the game made by guys who got sick of working for Activision and ended up selling out to their biggest competitor for $500 million. The title mustn't have been performing all that well, as not only was there a free weekend on the same month as its release, but it was even given a $39 Black Friday discount. When considering that fucking Black Ops 1, which came out 11 years ago, is still more expensive, it can't bode well for either the title or Activision's bottom line. Vanguard has been criticized for its somewhat buggy release, and as you might have guessed, a game that feels pretty much like the last 24 games the series has produced. Battlefield 2042 also saw a launch this month, and much like its historical rival, it also wasn't in the best of shape. Entire lists of features missing from previous entries have started cropping up online, including things as simple as voice chat and a scoreboard, but a lot of long-time fans have instead been more concerned with the game's new specialist-based class system, which seems to be implemented simply as a way to monetize gameplay features in a full-priced game. Viewers might have seen my early hands-on impressions earlier in the month, where me and my squad discovered the unstoppable power of the Riot Shield specialist, and we must have done something right, because he was actually unable to be played entirely for 4 days after first being released to the public. As is a staple of the Battlefield franchise, there were also a fun list of bugs, ranging from hilarious to game-breaking, as well as balance issues, such as a sniper being more effective against a vehicle than a fucking rocket launcher. The impressive hype for the game, mixed in with this rocky launch, has actually seen the title join the top 10 worst reviewed Steam games of all time, joining the likes of games such as NBA 2K18 and Autobahn Police Simulator. Why a developer would make a police simulator for a highway system mostly devoid of any speed limits is certainly beyond my plane of understanding. Judging by previous Battlefield entries, it's likely that 2042 will make a miraculous recovery and become everything fans wanted from its initial release trailer. So the good news is that players who are willing to wait will probably be in for a good time this time next year. With this in mind, you don't have to wait a single second to get premium quality sound at a COD Vanguard quality price. If you're looking to listen to music on the go without blinding people with your RGB headset, then Raycon's wireless earbuds might be what your life is missing. My pair of Raycons arrived at the start of 2020, and there seems to be an unreasonable number of things that make them as popular as they are. From its 8 hours of playtime, 32-hour battery life, its sleek rubber oil look and feel, gel tips for a comfortable fit, and built-in mic, the list of what makes Raycons great seems to transcend our own plane of understanding. Raycon is really easy to recommend, as not only are they half the price of other premium earbuds, but if you're even 1% unsatisfied, they'll give you a full refund within the first 45 days, with no hesitation. On top of this, going to buyraycon.com/surswag will get you another 30% discount for a limited time, or just click on the link in the description like a normal fucking person. Raycon, adapting to the extinction of the headphone jack. Meanwhile, Hideo Kojima opens an entire division dedicated to non-video game entertainment. Electronic Arts rejects a DICE pitch to produce Star Wars Battlefront 3, and Halo is officially receiving a live-action TV series featuring Master Chief himself. Shooter fans were seemingly spoiled for choice this month, when excluding a few leaks, including one from Pringles. Halo Infinite's multiplayer was unexpectedly released during the 20th anniversary of Xbox celebration. Early impressions have so far been incredibly positive, especially when considering that this is the first Halo game to have ever launched on PC. This isn't to say it hasn't faced some warranted criticism, with many console players being left unhappy, as there's no way to opt out of crossplay when without generous aim assist, mouse and keyboard players tend to have a pretty sizable advantage over their console wielding counterparts. The biggest complaint, however, concerns the progression system, which seems to be tied almost exclusively to its battle pass. Due to the game's multiplayer moving toward a free-to-play model, it's had the side effect of locking cosmetics behind battle pass progression, which, although isn't exactly unique to Halo, has received backlash for its painfully slow progression. The main complaint is that progression is solely tied to challenges, meaning simply playing the game how a player chooses to do so will provide them with very little experience if they hope to grind their way up to some of those higher tier rewards. Not only this, but weekly challenges are capped, so players are only able to work towards up to 4 at a time, meaning if you captured 6 flags but didn't have a related challenge equipped, you don't level up any faster than had you just taped your controller down and gone for a walk. When compared to a game like Apex Legends, which previously ranked second in our Battle Pass analysis, it alternatively offers weekly challenges that stay active for the entire season, meaning players on the 10th week of the pass are still able to complete challenges that were offered on week 1. 343 Industries would later update the game to offer a small experience bonus for every match completed. However, people smarter than myself would later calculate that the new system actually wouldn't be any more beneficial unless players were clocking in more than 3 to 4 hours a day. It's also worth mentioning that the Halo Battle Pass doesn't offer any currency to buy specific items either, and that to actually buy all Season 1 content with money would cost over $1,000. Halo seems to have been following the unfortunate trend of games that are so lovingly crafted and meticulously designed to be a joy to play, but ruined by the awful fucking progression and monetization systems. For a first-party title like Halo, it's almost baffling that Microsoft wouldn't want to be as generous as possible and have the game act as a reason to buy an Xbox or Game Pass as a whole and offer a competitive advantage that other shooters couldn't possibly hope to match. After all, people tend to spend a lot of money if they think they get to rip off a company. The new Amazon MMO, New World, has once again made headlines for its complex economic system, and as a typical economics explained enjoyer myself, I was absolutely committed to investigate. New World is based on players joining clans called companies, which can then control land, wage war, and collect taxes for the privilege of being in power. However, as it turns out, there's no mechanisms to prevent high-ranking clan members from simply withdrawing all gold collected from taxes and clan donations and just fucking off to a different server, never to be seen again. This trend of embezzlement can also happen in other ways, and there's been reports of governors, who are the heads of a company, kicking out every member unexpectedly before switching sides to fight for another faction altogether. This has been met with mixed reactions from the player base, with some players demanding that the developers turn off the ability to embezzle money in such a way, while others believe that it generates interesting player-created storytelling. This kind of betrayal is not uncommon in the chaotic MMO space, with EVE Online in particular becoming famous for long con-spy efforts that become destructive enough to inflict thousands in real-world damages, or even have the capacity to bring down entire corporations from the inside. The New World embezzlement trend has followed another period of the entire economy getting temporarily shut down after players discover yet another duplication glitch, which could be used to farm and gain gold at a breakneck pace. Quite interestingly, the ability to duplicate items for quick gold might have done more good than harm to the overall economy of New World, as the lack of reliable ways to farm gold, along with the high gold upkeep of prized items, has actually caused rampant deflation. There's no telling whether the game developers intend to double down on this chaotic player-driven gameplay model, but when considering it's a game created by Amazon, about colonizing and exploiting a lush and untapped landscape, it might very well be the direction it's headed. Meanwhile, the League of Legends Netflix series, Arcane, is confirmed to be getting a second season. Money laundering scheme, Star Citizen, has now crowdfunded $400 million, and Forza Horizon 5 has the biggest launch week in Xbox history, attracting a whole 10 million players. The 36th annual Golden Joystick Awards took place this month, with millions of votes being cast on 21 different categories, and living up to our name. Here were some of the highlights. Best multiplayer game was awarded to It Takes Two, Best Indie Game was given to Death's Door, and Best Performer was given to Maggie Robertson for her role of Lady Dimitrescu, in Resident Evil Village. In terms of platform, Hitman 3 won Best PC Game, Psychonauts 2 took home Best Xbox title, Metroid Dread was crowned Nintendo's Game of the Year, and Resident Evil was named Best PlayStation Game. Moving on, Best Hardware was awarded to the PlayStation 5, the Most Wanted award was given to Elden Ring, and Studio of the Year was picked up by Capcom. In terms of Game of the Year, it seems as if voters and critics couldn't see eye to eye, as critics gave the crown to Deathloop, while the people chose Resident Evil Village as their top pick. The award show also hosted a pair of special awards to celebrate 50 years of gaming, with the original Dark Souls taking home the title for the ultimate game of all time, and PC winning the ultimate hardware of all time. To cap off this month of disappointment, it only seems fit to allow Rockstar a seat at the table. November saw the release of the long speculated and much anticipated GTA Trilogy Remastered, offering modernized versions of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Fans however were not so happy once the collection was released to the public, as it launched with enough glitches and bugs to make fucking Battlefield look polished. The launch was then followed by the Rockstar launcher on PC, being taken offline for 3 whole days to both fix the game and to remove some unintended files that were pulled from the original titles, leaving customers understandably pissed off that they were basically banned from playing a game they had just paid for. It also didn't help that Rockstar had recently pulled the original games from Steam, presumably so players were forced to buy their new and more expensive remaster if they wanted to relive some classic GTA nostalgia. Rockstar would later apologize for the rocky launch, while relisting the classic games exclusively on the Rockstar launcher, which when considering the context of this controversy, didn't exactly score them any more gamer points with its fanbase. In terms of new releases, November saw the launch of Call of Duty Vanguard, Battlefield 2042, Forza Horizon 5, and Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl on Switch. December on the other hand is not nearly as crowded, with Halo Infinite, Solar Ash, and Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, all expected to launch before the end of the year. Viewers who might be interested in non-gaming related news are as always free to watch our regular news entry before the end of the month. Roll the fucking outro.